Hi, I'm Tommy, and this is my 2016 KTM Freeride. It's a 252 stroke, and currently it's not running, it won't start. So let's dig into it, see if we can figure out why. So when I try to start it, it makes it sound like a backfire. I don't think it's really a backfire. I think it's fuel that's collecting in the exhaust, and then that at some point pops. It's not backfiring through the carburetor. It seems to come out the tailpipe. So the first thing I did is I took the carburetor out and I cleaned it up. This has a carburetor from a company called Technology Elevated. They call it a smart carb. There's a lot of those out there, different companies making smart carbs. But this one has a metering rod, so it doesn't have jets. It's never clogged before, but I went ahead and took it out and cleaned it all up and put it all back in and made no change. Next thing I did is I took off the cover for the alternator and cleaned everything out, made sure there was no water in there. I used WD-40 to make sure that there was no other contaminants in there. I also checked the air filter. It's a little dirty, but I've seen worse. I also tried starting it without the air filter in there, and it's still same symptoms. It doesn't start, and it does that. Call it an after fire, not a backfire. And so the next thing to check is to see if we have spark. To check the spark, we're gonna take the plug out and hold it against the top of the head here while we're cranking the starter, and just make sure we see spark. Get that fully seated. We'll hold this against the top of the head, hit the starter. We got spark, it looks good. I will probably swap out this plug, even though it's sparking. It's been a while. So this is my compression tester. I took the lens off of here because it was hard to see through. We'll hold throttle wide open. Yeah, we're getting what, 35? 35 ain't gonna do it. So this thing has bad rings or bad gaskets or something. We gotta dig in a little further and check it out. I think we'll take the exhaust off first, just to make sure there's no blockage in there. Nothing in the exhaust that doesn't belong, like fluids or anything else. So since the compression is low, we're going to go ahead and take off the head here and have a look inside and see if we can't figure out what's going on. These have these little brass washers, or copper washers. So you gotta make sure to not lose those. So, there we go. Let's see here. This ring is folded down or something. That's not looking good at all. So that's what gouged the cylinder wall. Vertically, I don't feel any play, so I feel good about the lower end. But this needs New piston, new rings, and we'll have to look into that cylinder wall, see if that can be repaired. So I took the cylinder to 3 different machine shops and had them look at it. No one wanted to touch it. So the last one referred to me to this shop called Cyclefax. Met a really nice guy by the name of Bill, and he told me that they could sleeve it, they could, I guess, repair it and nickel plate it, but all that is going to cost about the same as just replacing it with a factory part. So I don't really see the sense. I don't need to go to a larger bore or anything like that. I've always been happy with the performance of the engine. But we also had an interesting conversation about, he talked to me about the rings have to sit in a particular spot so that they don't get caught on the exhaust ports, which makes a lot of sense. So I got to look for that and see if there are pins that hold the ring gaps in a certain spot to make sure that they line up in the right spot. He thinks maybe they had slipped, and that's why it caught on one of the exhaust ports. If you look inside, perhaps caught on the exhaust port, and that's what started peeling it loose. So I'm going to look for that. Also, in the book, it tells me to run 80-to-1. I've been doing that for 2 years. You know, everyone I talk to says that's too lean of oil. And, you know, I've agreed, but it's a different kind of bike. It's kind of like a trials bike. So you don't want to be fouling plugs all the time. So I think that's one of the reasons they want to do 80-to-1. But I think I'm gonna use a little more oil in the future after I get this replaced. So for now, I've got parts on order, and when they arrive, we'll start putting this thing back together.